Welcome back to Write, Writer, Write. I'm your host, Deborah Froese. Last time we talked about voice, the way your writing sounds. Today we're going to move to something closely related and just as important. Point of view. If voice is the sound of storytelling, point of view is what readers see. It's basically the camera position. Point of view, also known as POV, answers questions like, who is telling the story? What can the reader see, hear, and know? And just as importantly, what can't they know? Point of view is not about style, it's about access. Every story makes an agreement with the reader. Point of view sets the terms of that agreement. It decides whose inner world we're allowed to enter, how close we get, and how information is revealed or withheld. And that last part matters because point of view isn't only about what you show, it's also about what you keep out of frame, what keeps readers guessing or builds tension. Today we'll look at 4 common points of view: first person, third person limited, multiple points of view, and omniscient point of view. First person puts the camera directly behind one character's eyes and keeps it there. The story is told using I. That means everything on the page is framed within that one person's perspective, how they interpret events and memories, how they feel, how they come to conclusions or form misconceptions, because we all know misconceptions are juicy story fodder. That approach brings us closer to specific character, thoughts, and emotions, but it also locks us in. We only know what that character notices, remembers, misunderstands, or is willing to admit. We can only guess at what another character is thinking or feeling. That can get tricky. We do that by studying their reactions, mannerisms, and behaviors instead of having a narrator tell us. So with first person, we experience life and story through that one character as though we've slid inside their skin like an actor in a role. Think of The Martian. The protagonist's voice and point of view are welded together. Mark Watney's gallows humor, stubborn optimism, and compulsive step-by-step logic create the story. We experience it through his log entries and ongoing commentary. First person shines when the emotional truth is key, when the character's inner life provides the story's central tension. First person is common in books for young adults and new adult readers, because it aligns the protagonist's experience with identity formation, something younger people are still grappling with. Romance novels, mysteries, and psychological thrillers work well in this first person too. But the trade-off with first person is scope. We gain depth of emotion and experience and give up the broader perspective. Third person limited moves the camera back a half a step. The narrator uses he, she, or they, but the scene stays aligned with one character's perspective. Even though the primary pronoun isn't I, third person limited still lets you live through their experience. What they notice, what they miss, and what they decide matters shapes the scene and its meaning. Think of The Road by Cormac McCarthy. The narration stays close to the father's experience, giving the world the way he sees it. The immediate threat with little hope, relentless calculation for survival. That constraint creates story pressure, but we still don't have to stay in that immediacy of first-person I. Third-person limited creates that emotional closeness, but it gives a slightly wider lens that allows you to see the world around the narrator. This is one of the most common choices in contemporary fiction because it gives you intimacy without requiring that full first-person performance on every page. You get closeness and momentum, but you also get a little more wiggle room for description about setting, timing, texture, while still staying inside the character's boundary of perception and knowledge. With multiple points of view, you tell the story through several separate character viewpoints, usually one at a time, in distinct scenes or chapters. You can use I, we, he, they, doesn't matter with multiple points of view. You're still working with a single camera, but you're using a shot list to decide which character to frame. Each change of viewpoint must earn its place. It should bring new pressure to the story, new information, new stakes, new contradictions, not just a new set of eyes. Think of The Help. That story rotates among Abilene, Minnie, and Skeeter. Each perspective reveals a different truth about the same situation. The power of this story comes from where they agree and disagree and what they can't see about themselves. Multiple points of view work best when no single character can carry the whole story, when contrasting worldviews deepen the central conflict, when a combination of perspectives brings the truth to light. But too many viewpoints without purpose can drain tension instead of building it, so you've got to make sure there's a reason for multiple characters. If the camera reframes too often, readers can't settle into the characters. So typically, writers grant each point of view character a chapter at a time, giving readers a chance to immerse themselves in that character's experience and feel a connection with them. Omniscient point of view, also known as the God view, is your wide-angle lens. An omniscient narrator knows everything, past, present, and future, the thoughts and motivations of multiple characters, sometimes even the meaning of events as they unfold. This may sound a little like multiple points of view, but it's different. Multiple points of view give you several intimate, limited lenses. What this person sees, what that person sees, what another person sees. Story emerges from the unique blend of them all. Omniscient point of view gives you one lens. You have the freedom to move that lens and zoom in anywhere, as long as you're in tight control of the movements. Omniscient writing was especially common in 19th century fiction, when narrators commented directly on the state of humans in the world. In Les Miserables, Victor Hugo uses omniscient point of view to make the novel bigger than any one character. It shifts between Valjean's moral strain to Javert's rigidity, and then steps back to look at poverty, law, revolution, and mercy. Omniscient point of view lets Victor Hugo paint a broad picture of society. Eleanor Catton's The Luminaries offers a contemporary example. She uses an omniscient narrator to traverse a large cast and a wide web of secrets. She shifts between one character's motives to another character's knowledge without being bound to any single perspective. Newer writers often reach for omniscient point of view because it doesn't appear to have any constraints. You can jump into anyone's head, explain the background, and move the story along without getting stuck. But without a strong and deliberate guiding hand, omniscient point of view can feel unfocused, as though the writer is darting around or interrupting the story to explain things, or head-hopping, jumping randomly between characters. That will not hold reader attention. When it's well constructed, omniscient point of view offers thematic depth with the ability to explore systems, societies, and interconnected lives, but it demands skill and control to avoid feeling scattered or vague. So how do you choose the right point of view for your story? Start by considering your objectives and the voices you hear most clearly in your head. First person, I, is best for character-driven stories that need high intimacy or a strong, distinctive voice. Third person limited, with he, she, or they, is a strong default when you want flexibility with description and movement while staying close to one character. Multiple points of view, which can use I or he, she, and they, work best with stories that build tension, contrast, or scale by showing the same problem through different characters. Omniscient point of view, the godlike stance, is best for sweeping panoramic stories with many characters. In this case, the narrator's authority weaves a perspective that can comment beyond any one mind. Still having trouble deciding? Experiment until you feel the right tone emerge. Listen to your instincts. Point of view shapes meaning and impact. And once you choose it, you're making a promise to the reader about what kind of access they're going to get to your characters, what kind of story they're going to experience. Break that promise by head-hopping or holding back information your point of view suggests readers should have, and trust erodes. Think of point of view as your story camera. Get the camera in the right place, and you'll establish a solid framework for your reader's experience. Thanks for joining me today. For more reflections on skill, storytelling, and writing with purpose, you can find me on Substack. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, think like a filmmaker, choose your camera angle, and write, writer, write.